A lot of people, well, people who know enough about Jackson don't know the presidency years or the War of 1812 years. But who was he before all this? Why is he bouncing around so much? What's this guy's background?
You know, it is pretty amazing. Jackson was, of course, a poor son of immigrants in the Waxhaws in South Carolina. He had been an orphan. His entire family had been wiped out during the Revolutionary War. One historian called Jackson one of the men of the 4th of July generation. He was one of those young Americans who were born as the country transitioned from being colonies to an actual country. Jackson was, in his youth, a young man who bounced from job to job. He was a businessman. As many Americans in those days, they weren't used to just having a career set up for them. Most of them did not go to college. He had to make his way through the world. This was a man who came from a poor background and rose up in society, didn't actually make his mark until he was really in his 40s, and I think proved his mettle through the fire of war. And I think that his background, was quite remarkable in the fact that he wasn't from any prominent family in this country. He wasn't part of the aristocracy. His last name wasn't Washington or Jefferson. He was just the child of poor immigrants who absolutely believed in the United States as a country with special providence, one that he would fight for and that he would give his life for if need be.
He actually had disdain for that aristocracy, did he not? And they, in turn, had disdain for him.
Very much did. And there was a lot of prejudice in Washington, D.C., especially of this man who they thought came from the backwoods, who was a hillbilly, who was a know-nothing, an ignorant man. And I think that for those who actually got to know Jackson, understood that this is a man of innate intelligence. This man was one of experience. He had witnessed the frontier as it really was. He was used to dealing with the harsh realities that the average American understood. And I think that's what gave Jackson his character as a leader. It's why Americans ended up glomming onto him and believing in him as a leader. That he wasn't just a man of courage. He gave others courage. He was a guy who would stand under fire and wouldn't flinch and would give the young men that he led into battle a great deal of courage. And I think his understanding of the American people, his background is just a regular guy, I think really added to his character and who he was and what he symbolized for a country that was growing rapidly, which was welcoming a lot of new young men who weren't part of that aristocracy into the roles of leadership in this country. And in the case of Jackson, was real leadership. He proved his mettle, not just in battle, but also in politics.
You like that? You can learn a whole lot more about Andrew Jackson. The dude was a stud, but you have to do this. You have to do this. It's real simple. thefirsttv.com/support. You do know that this human being got attacked by an assassin when he was 70-some years old and almost beat someone to death with his cane, right? Yeah. thefirsttv.com/support. You enjoyed that. You'll enjoy the whole thing. Trust me.